All right, everyone, why don't I take the opportunity to welcome you to this very special Zoom call on behalf of Star Power. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for joining us. It's an exciting year. This year is the relaunch of Star Power. It's going to mean a lot of different things. One thing that it's going to mean is our first new Star Power conference is coming up in July. The dates, if you haven't already registered, are July 8th through 10th. It's going to be held in Dallas at the Plano Marriott Legacy Town Center. Starts on the 8th, the afternoon, and goes till 5 o'clock on the 10th. I'm sure someone will share the link in the chat. So if you haven't registered, you want to register, you'll be able to do that. And one of the things we wanted to do to try to help build excitement for this inaugural new year of the new Star Power was to really reflect on what Star Power has meant. And we could not be more thrilled today to be joined by two Star Power star legends, really, in Linda McKissick and Nikki Ubaldini. So thank you both for making time. I know how busy your schedules are. Thank you for coming on. Would each of you take a moment to introduce yourselves? Maybe Linda, you can go first, to share a little bit about yourself, your background, and what your current business looks like.
Sure, absolutely. Well, my name is Linda McKissick, and I am out of Texas, actually is where I actually live. I don't stay here all the time. I live on the plain mostly, but I actually built a team back starting in the late 80s and early 90s in Texas, took it all the way to what most people would understand as 7th level, which means I brought my brother-in-law in to take it over, and he's been running it ever since. We are in the process. It's funny, we're in the process of selling that business to him, but I'm also in the business of starting a new team to start all over again in that arena. But I have forked off to do leadership opportunities and mostly focus on building wealth. So in the past 20 something years, that's what I've actually been focusing on, is building businesses and building wealth. So happy to be here. Love Star Power. Has so many great memories and so many blessings that it blessed me with.
And Nikki, let's hear from you.
All right. Well, my name is Nikki Ubaldini, and I too started building a team back in the late 80s, early 90s, along with my husband. We grew that team to this day, where we're pretty much like Linda. We have what's called 7th leveled ourselves out of it. We have stepped back just a little bit into it because our son-in-law is now involved. So it's exciting to have a family member, passing on the legacy to the family member. But we too started focusing on the opportunities of leadership. Currently, we own real estate companies, title companies, our business is about helping others grow their opportunities. So it's been about wealth building, real estate investments, those kinds of things too. We've kind of taken a similar path, Linda and I. They have dove deeper into some areas than us, but we are more on the people side. So that's what we're doing.
Excellent. Well, I want to ask you about the very special story of how you met. But before I do that, Nikki, what was your first experience with Star Power? How did you find out about it? What's kind of your first memory of getting engaged?
Well, it's funny. The first time that we ever experienced Howard Brinton is how we got introduced to the first Star Power conference. Many, many years ago, we were at a RE/MAX convention in Atlanta, Georgia, and actually, and it was very early on in our career, and we're sitting in this room and we hear this man talking and we don't see anybody. And the next thing you know, this crazy man jumps up on a chair in the middle of the room, scares everybody half to death. That was great old Howard and his crazy antics. And he was so much fun and he made so much sense. And then he had promoted his Star Power conferences. And that was way back in Aspen, Colorado. And that's where we did our very first conference, was in Aspen, Colorado. And we were hooked. And, we just started going. And what we loved about it was when we started in the business, we didn't really have a lot of training. Our broker was like, read the contract, fill in the blanks. He was a great guy, but he didn't really do any training. So my husband and I were just a little bit competitive. So we looked around into the community and we said, who's doing what? And we just started copying. We just started copying until we got to the same level that they got. And now we hit the ceiling and we're like, okay, now what do we do? Well, what Star Power allowed us to do was tap into all these awesome, great minds across the country So here all of a sudden we're seeing, we're meeting these people, we're listening to them on, back then it was cassette tape. And it helped us to grow our business. And, it was a fun, exciting time for us. So that's how we got plugged into Star Power.
One of the things Howard always used to do, which I used to love, is he'd ask you to set your goal. Or he'd say, what is your goal? And then he'd say, now take it and double it.
Right.
And really push you. So when you talk about reaching that ceiling, there's a point you get to in your own business where you think that's all there is. And you realize there actually is no ceiling. How do I go get there? And how do I find out? And that's what Star Power opened the doors. Linda, was your experience similar?
Actually, we had met Tony DeCello, another fellow star, years before at a Mike Ferry event. And we were at the event, and during that event, we were kind of newbies on the trail, and we met Patty Ancona, who was also a Star Power star, I think, and Tony. And there was some kind of, Mike was kind of being upset about people being interviewed by this man named Howard. Well, we had no idea who Howard was, right? So we go home, and we're probably doing about 100 transactions at that point, which was a lot back then. Now it's kind of not that much, but back then it was a lot. And so Tony had moved from Mike over to Howard and been interviewed by Howard. And so he was telling Howard about us. And at the same time, somebody was telling Howard about Nikki and Gary and how much our businesses were similar. So it was actually Tony that reached out to Howard. And our first introduction to Howard was to be asked to be stars. So he flew us to Denver, and we were interviewed with the Ubaldinis, and we saw how much our lives were actually parallel, even though they were in the state of Florida and we were in the state of Texas. So we actually got interviewed, was our first introduction, and went to the same conference in Aspen and just fell in love with how giving and sharing all the people were there. Because like Nikki, we were at companies that nobody was helping each other. And so you just needed to try to figure it out on your own. And all of a sudden we were at a place where everyone was not afraid that if they shared their secrets with you, you'd win and they'd lose. It was everybody trying to help each other win. And that was the kind of culture that we believed in, but we had not found it back then at our current real estate company.
Linda, can you think of a few examples of, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, actually, it was Tony DeCillo who actually told Howard about us too. We were in Remax with Tony DeCillo, and he was kind of our idol. We were in awe of Tony, and he was a great coach. Even though he wasn't coaching back then, he was just a really awesome person. And so that was actually how we got connected, Linda. And when was the very first Star Power? Was it 91?
93.
93.
Conference. First conference was 93 in Aspen.
Okay, 93. So I was at that conference, and then it was 94 when we got interviewed. So yeah.
Back to the beginning. The question, Linda, I started to ask is, so if you think back to that kind of first experience, and you said, we were in companies that were competitive or maybe didn't share. What are some of the things that you took, or the tools or the materials or the scripts? What is it that you learned? What are some of the tangible examples?
Well, I think by the time we got to Star Power, we had already started hiring assistants, and no one really, honestly, no one had really started to do that yet. Now it's very commonplace. People build teams, they have administrative, but back then, honestly, there was not a lot of that. So we had already started to do that, and we were the only people in our marketplace who had. So what I found was a community of other people who were wanting to leverage their business through the who's, not necessarily just to always do the how. And I needed that because I didn't want to be someone who did it all forever. There's so many parts of it that I sucked at and I hated and wasn't the dollar productive pieces. And so I needed a community of other people who were wanting to build it as big as it could be. And you just couldn't find that on a local level back then, because they looked at you like you had two heads because you hired an assistant or you had a buyer agent. And so I remember just almost getting attacked at a conference that a CRS conference, because I sat on stage and talked about selling houses I'd never seen. Well, you go to Star Power, that was not an uncommon thing for us to talk about, but you go outside of that at that time. And that was just like, what are you, this is heresy. What are you talking about? Right. So I would say it was probably high level dialogue and conversation that I found that I was needing to know that I wasn't the crazy person.
I love it. I think those are some great examples. So thinking back to those early conferences all the way through when they kind of stopped a few years ago, what are some of the key memories, Nikki, that you have from attending some of the conferences? And are there any that really kind of helped transform your business?
There's so many memories. Number one, how much fun we used to have. That was probably one of the best memories, and the camaraderie. And also, like Linda said, the willingness to share, just to be completely open. There was nobody that sat there with their cards to their chest. But there was one time, we were in Aspen, and Tony DeSillo was actually up on the stage, and he described it so well for so many of us that he did something called seagull management. And he said, I fly in, I dump, and I leave. And then the only time that I ever talk to them again is when they've done something wrong. And then we wonder why our team does not, respond very well, or they don't want to stay with us. So that was one of those aha moments that, you don't want to be the seagull. And I know it was a fun, everybody in the room cracked up, but it was a powerful statement that I think stuck with so many of us. And it was something that I strive to not be that seagull that comes in and dumps and never has a conversation with their team unless they're doing something wrong, and trying to really build the relationships and solidifying the team even more solid. That was probably one of the pivotal things, let alone all of the marketing and all of the other things that we learned. But that was a huge leadership lesson for me.
Linda, I see you nodding. Is there something that resonates with you in terms of that?
Yeah, when Nikki said that, I just thought of something super powerful that Howard said to me. He said to me one time, Linda, the way you want to build a brand so big that when people in your real estate market think of in your area, think of real estate, they think of you. And I didn't know how I was going to do that, but that was so impactful and stuck in my mind. And I thought about it years later when my daughter graduated from Baylor University. I think it was like year 2000 or so. And we went to Hawaii, and I went to check in at the spa. And I said to the lady at the Grand Wailea, I said, we're the McKissicks and we're here for our spa day. And the lady looked at me and she said, McKissick. And she put her pen down and she said, oh my gosh, you're in real estate. And it was funny because Howard used to say, the way you'll know that you've done this, Linda, is if you go to your produce at your local grocery store and somebody they ask you about the kiwi, you're not there yet, right? They got to ask you about real estate. And so that's what I was thinking about. I was never thinking that, man, somebody who's working in Hawaii now used to live in my area and they still remember that I do real estate. But just that one idea, we would build a brand that years and years later, even as I, sell my real estate business to my brother-in-law for $1.1 million, people still think we're the brand. And, one of my friends was at a conference in Washington, and there was a bunch of police officers there. And the police officers, when they found out they were all from Denton, Texas, he said, Linda McKissick? And they said, oh, of course, real estate. And that was years later. And so, you just never know, like Nikki said, when that one aha, big bright idea is going to be so impactful and just change the trajectory for you.
Well, if I can add on to that, Linda, one of the things too that Howard always said, it was try to be the first in your market. And so that drove us to be the first in outdoor advertising. We actually were the first people to put up a billboard, and we were some of the first people to use our children in our marketing. And to this day, we haven't had a billboard up in close to 20 years. And people still say, oh yeah, I remember your billboard and your kids. And they still think my kids are little because that's what you remember. And of course I have a 31-year-old and a 27-year-old and 2 grandbabies now. But the funny thing is that those things stick with people's brains. Our last name is pretty unique and there's not many of us running around. So it didn't hurt in building our brand. So.
You've reflected a bit on your relationship with Howard. You've reflected on some, Tony, at least as an example of someone. Who are some of the other stars and what are some of the things that you learned from them that really stand out to you in helping shape your business, or how you kind of took what you learned and applied it?
Yeah, boy, there'd be so many. Where do you even start? Okay, Tupper Briggs. Was that his last name? Tupper Bricks.
Top to
Yeah,
top.
I stole so much of his advertising,
That's
list your house with us and we'll get right on it. We got on top of our house. We took pictures. People loved it. We borrowed the neighbor's dog because we didn't have one. And the ad said dependable and trustworthy. And so is the dog. I mean, these are just ideas that I got from other stars, Tupper being one of them. And I didn't have to create something. And the beautiful thing is you knew if it was working in someone else's area, it would probably work in yours. And so I could probably go down the list until you remember at least one great nugget from every single star that was there.
I'd have to agree with her. I mean, talk to Tupper. I mean, how could you forget that one? And I could rattle off all the ideas, voted by 2 independent labs as being number 1, and you're with 2 labs and outstanding in their field.
We did that.
There were so many fun guys and gals in the stuff that they did. And some of them duplicated, so not knowing exactly where it actually came from sometimes was difficult. I'm trying to think. I think I can see his face, but he had a sign and it said, "We'll sell houses, for food," or something like that. It was just fun things. And I think back in those days, it sounds like I'm really old, but back in those days, we made real estate really fun. And we took it lighthearted. It was more lighthearted than it is today. Everybody's just thinking just a little too serious. And I say that in tongue in cheek in the fact that, I've got about 1,000 agents in our offices. And, we try to keep it lighthearted, have some fun with it. And, remember the people we're doing business with are human beings too. So Gary was just talking just the other day, we need to do one of those ads that says, which Gary and Nikki did you do business with? And, where all the different pictures, with the different hairstyles and the different eras, and some with kids and some without, and all those things. And, those are the fun things. There was just too many awesome stars to even put our finger on who else. I mean, you had Mary Harker.
Yeah.
I mean, she was the queen of networking. She taught you how to network like nobody ever could network. I mean, I've never seen a person work a room like that woman.
And Alexis Boland, you could learn more scripts than you could ever remember.
In fact, Alexis Boland is so funny to this day. I mean, the young people just surround her. They adore her. They want to eat her up. They love her to death because she's so much fun. And they try to script off with her, and she just knocks them dead. She's to this day as strong as she was back then. And that's what makes it fun, because she's still having fun. Kathy Russell is another one. Janet Parsons. They all, I mean, Kathy Russell taught me a lot of things. Number one of the things she taught me was about, this is way, way, way back. And she told a story about, making sure when somebody says they're paying cash to get it, verified, I mean, I know this is old stuff now for people, but, get a bank verification. And she told the story of a woman who thought she had, won millions of dollars from Publishers Clearinghouse, and that's how she was going to buy her house. I mean, those are just the fun stories. Beth Mason, Massey.
Oh yeah.
1-800-HOT-BETH. So these are
one
all
of the reasons I like to ask for the examples. I know it's hard to pick, but I think it really speaks to the culture of the organization, the culture of the stars. These are top performing agents and brokers and business owners all throughout the country and around the world. And they're just so giving and they'll tell you all their secrets. They'll say, this is how I did it. This is the thing I designed. This is the tool I use. This is the vendor I pay. Here's how much I pay them. Go do it and copy me in your market. Tell me how you make it better. And I think it's just such an amazing, amazing thing. I know a lot of people have dialed in order to hear from you all and maybe ask some questions. So I do want to open it up. If any of you would like to ask a question, I don't know if you want to use the hand raise button or even just wave down, and we'll go ahead and recognize and call on you. So if any of you do have questions, just go ahead and flag down our attention. And also, I was meant to say this at the beginning and I forgot, but as an incentive for all of you to stay to the end, anyone who stays to the end will have a thank you gift to give you. If you're already a club member, you might already have it. But if you've not yet joined the club, the Star Power Club, and registered, we have a special gift for you that we'll give at the end of the session. One thing to ask both of you, and this is kind of for your insight. You talked earlier about how, back in the day when you were adopting assistants or you were having a buyer agent or you were doing some things that were cutting edge at the time. What do you see right now as something cutting edge that either you or someone in your organization is starting to do that you think is really kind of the next big thing in real estate or how people approach the job of being a realtor?
I would say expansion. And matter of fact, I think if expansion had been as hot a topic back then as it was now, I probably would have not sold my real estate business for, I mean, don't get me wrong, $1 million is fabulous for selling your business that you've built, but I probably would not have sold it. I would have done expansion because the reason I was looking to do something else is because I was kind of getting bored. I felt like the only thing changing was the color of people's carpet. And I like to build things. I like to take territory. I like to multiply things. And so I just felt like that was kind of limited. And I think now with expansion, you can go anywhere in the country. I would say expansion.
I would have to agree with that. That seems to be the cutting edge right now. Being able to take your business and expand it into unknown territories, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Exciting stuff.
Mhm.
I love it. I think that's wonderful. I'll check again. Are there questions that any of the participants have? Again, if you want to raise. Jana, you were waving. I'm not sure. If
I have a question regarding that. Would you guys have named it your team name? Or would you have named it something not to do with your name?
That's a great question, Jana. I probably would not pick a team name because, well, let's put it this way. I don't know if you were on when I said this, Jana. I've come full circle and I'm rebuilding another team. Even though I sold my team to my brother-in-law, I'm rebuilding a team, and I can't use the name McKissick Group, Realty Group, because I've sold it. I've licensed it to him. I've trademarked it, but I licensed it to him. But I'm going to pick a generic name. I've got a couple in mind. I haven't totally picked. I got a few other people working on names, but I'm going to pick a generic name. I'm not going to pick my name because I'm never going on a listing and I'm never going to work with a buyer.
Right.
I would agree with her on that. I think it's a lot easier to leverage yourself, and it doesn't become about you when your name is in there. I mean, remember when we were all first started, it was all about us and about us, building these businesses and relationships. As we start to grow, when we start leveraging ourselves through team members, we discover that when our name is infused in it, it's just one more layer of release before the customer understands that it's the systems that they're doing business with, not necessarily the people that they're doing business with. So it's the people who created the systems, yes, but it's not necessarily those people. So I have to agree with
You're
Linda.
Merrill Lynch, you're Coldwell and Banker. You're using that name to become a brand.
Yeah.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, so you could be, XY super team or whatever you wanted to call it, LMOP super team, whatever you wanted it to be. It could be anybody. And that way, if, as we all know, sometimes on teams, people come and go, then there's not this inconsistency in the consumer's mind because the name is still the same.
Mm-hmm.
We just interviewed Gwen Dobmeyer, who's a new star. Her interview is fantastic. I hope you all join the club just so you can see her interview. But they call themselves the Integrity Team, which also is an expression of their values, and it's what they take to market. And it's great. You can take it in any market.
Right.
I know we're coming close to the end of the half hour. Are there other questions that are out there in the group? Is there something that you're thinking about? Anyone have a question about conference? I do want to mention again, the upcoming Star Power Conference is going to be July 8th in Dallas at the Dallas Plano Marriott. Tammy has put the link to register in the chat. So if anyone wants to register for conference, hasn't done that yet. Amy Storr, what's one thing that you think everyone needs to know about conference before they get off of this call?
The thing that's stuck with me all these years, and I think that Nikki and Linda have both hit on it, is that while there are a ton of great topics, I think some of the biggest magic that happens at conferences, the hallway conversations and the lounge conversations, and being able to access people when they're relaxed and away from their interruptions and able to just focus on the creative aspect of the business. It's so magical. That's number one. Number two, I want to reinforce what Linda and Nikki said about this being a family. And I will tell you guys, after almost 30 years, I know it's impossible to believe because I was like 9 years old when I went to conference, but
I really was 9 years old when I went to college.
I know.
We know, Erin, don't have to rub it in, okay?
Um, you truly meet some of the most special, valuable, magical, lifelong friendships that you're ever going to have. And it's a group of people who get you at a level that people around you can't possibly understand. You know, even your best friends in your local market. And I see Laura nodding yes. They know you're a busy realtor, but they don't really understand what that is. And so being with this group of people from all brands, from all markets, and there's this shared community of people who totally get you and want you to succeed and are calling you after conference to see if you did what you said you were going to do. You don't find anything like it anywhere.
That's a great
just
point.
don't.
Thank you for sharing that. I see we have a couple of hands raised. Rebecca, if you'd like to unmute yourself, go ahead.
As I was listening to Nikki and Linda share some of the crazy fun ideas, I had to go dig it out.
Oh, no.
And so it's presentation mastery, and there is, I don't know if you can see,
An old picture.
and then look at the
Yeah.
the wrapped Hummer. Is that a Hummer? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to thank you for being
the Hummer.
just thank you for like what you said about the camaraderie and just that collaboration where everyone is willing to share, because you both have been people that, you know, I've really admired and watched from afar over the years. And then and so I think what I'm hearing is just, and I wrote it down like 4 different times for emphasis in my notes, is just have fun. You know, there are moments where I'm just such a goofball, and I'll kind of tone it down or go, oh, they're not going to take me seriously if and it just was encouraging to hear some of the examples again of just being authentic, right? Just being who you are. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Linda used to fondly call me the fun friend. I was the fun friend. She had smart friends, but I was the fun friend. I never got to be the smart friend, so that's okay.
You have been the smart friend a few times when I had to call you about some legal issues and things you'd been through that I hadn't been through yet. So you are the smart friend too. You're double-hatted now.
So it looks like we have another question. I can't see a name, but the iPhone with your hand up. Go ahead if you want to take yourself off mute.
I think that's me, Erin Chadbourne.
Oh, I know that voice anywhere.
Yeah, the script queen.
Alexis.
You don't need a face to go with that voice.
Oh.
Holy cow.
You can't see my face right now. I'm at the beauty shop. But I am so thrilled to hear you guys, and I'm so thrilled about conference. If people are listening in, they absolutely need to get to this conference. I'm hoping and praying that the 3 of us get to do a script panel. We had more fun. I don't know if the audience learned anything, but I'm more interested in us having fun. So
Careful what you wish for, Alexis. There's a script off going to be coming, and you just volunteered yourself for it.
Well, hey, she could carry the whole script thing all by herself.
oh no. I want you ladies. Okay. You know, the 3 of us and whoever else to participate,
Martha,
because we had more, Martha, we had more fun. And I've got some ideas that I've already shared with Dawn that'll be coming down the pipe for opening session. So if people are listening and they haven't signed up yet, they really do need to sign on to this because it's going to be awesome.
And I mentioned that the link to register for conference is in the chat. I also said that we would have a free giveaway to anyone who stayed to the end. If you've not joined club and you've not yet seen the newsletter, we've just relaunched the Star Power newsletter. The first edition is out. If you've not got it, go ahead and put your email address in the chat, and Dawn or Tammy or someone from Star Power team will make sure that you get a copy. It's got amazing and great content. Before we wrap up, Jana Caudill, I just wanted to check with you. Is there anything you'd like to share with the group? I know before you joined, Jana, there was just so much appreciation for what you're doing to relaunch this network and this group. It's meant so much to so many people and so many people's careers. And I think there's a lot of appreciation for you taking this big leap. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of investment. And I personally want to share appreciation, but I think a lot of people do too. And just wanted to give you a second if there's something you wanted to say. Make sure you take yourself off mute. There you go.
There you go. No, well, shoot, all of you, like, I was just like listening to the two of you, Nikki and Linda. I learned so much from you, and I want you to know, like, I used to think I was crazy in my own local marketplace, the way I acted. I'm just like, everyone's like, who's she? And she thinks, and then when I would hang around and observe, people like you, I was like, oh shit, I'm not crazy after all, right? Like, maybe I'm the normal one, or I'm the great one, but you did it before me, and you literally, I remember exactly when I met you, Linda, especially. And then Nikki, you two were always like, I'm like, wow, that's really cool. Your friendship. I admire your friendship and everything you guys have built together. But I remember looking up at a lunch table, and it was my very first lunch round table. And you were talking a whole different language than anyone else I'd ever heard, right? Especially in my own local marketplace. But I just remember thinking, these girls are so smart. Like, I want to be like them, So honestly, what I loved about Star Power was that it was a mixture. It wasn't just Howard. It wasn't just one or two stars. Like you said, it was everybody. And, like you said, you don't know really who copied who, right? Because we all kind of like took things and just one-upped it and made it better. But you inspired me. Honestly, the reason I kind of decided to relaunch this, because I found it very sad that it was gone, right? And Howard would not have wanted that. So it is a lot of work. It is a lot of time and energy. And sometimes I do wonder, Dawn was like, what the heck did I sign up for, right? But I know that God is blessing each and every one of us, and there's a reason for it. And if we can share and just give back, I think sometimes even being our age, like I'm 57 right now, and I'm thinking I'm a has-been and that I don't really have anything to give and share. And so sometimes I just think, no, we just need to pour out, right? Be the givers. You guys were all givers. And obviously, Alexis, you're still giving, and you're way older than me, girlfriend. So, no, all of you, I'm just thrilled. I'm in awe.
Hold on a minute. You didn't have to say that.
But she's still, like, the girl has more energy. Kathy Russell, you used her. Kathy has more energy than so many people. So regardless of our age and where we come from, or the real estate company that we're affiliated with, there's a reason we all met. And I truly believe that, like, that's what Star Power is all about. And we're just going to keep on sharing and giving and making the real estate world a better place. That's all we can do.
I think too, Jana, and I think that's excellent. So thank you again for all of your work. But one thing that I see, that Heidi Joy is on here, and Martha Hendrick was mentioning she's seen the new interviews. And, one of the things that really makes clear why we need Star Power back is to profile some of these new stars. And Heidi, I hope everyone gets a chance to see her interviews, see the incredible things that she's doing down in Florida, how she broke into a new market, reinvented herself, and really connected, decided she wanted to be luxury, and she just made it happen. And it's an incredible story. I hope people get to watch that interview. And Heidi, congratulations and thank you. Amy, I see that your hand is raised. Did you have something you wanted to add?
I did. A couple of things. First of all, to Janice, straight to you. Thank you so much for doing what everybody else was whining about, but wasn't doing anything about, and bringing Star Power back. For those of you who, having been involved in the club the entire time I was with Star Power before, and seeing what it's been evolved into today, I'm telling you guys, you're going to be blown away. And I wish I could even articulate adequately what has been put together. You're getting 2 brand new stars every month this year, and probably through all of next year. And in addition to that, we're revisiting people like Linda, like Nikki. Alexis was actually our very first revisit interview for people who are still out there killing it in real estate, who were originally interviewed. And that's just the interviews. They're available to watch as video, but you're also going to be able to download them and listen to them on your favorite device. The newsletter, you guys, actually has click-throughs to stuff, Brad Korn talks about his 8x8 campaign with builders. You're actually going to be able to click from the newsletter and download his actual campaign. The layers of fabulousness in the club are just unbelievable. So I can't encourage you guys enough to get on the club. Martha's already dived into it, and so she could testify to that. And then conference, everybody needs to be invited. We are a startup company, you guys. Even though Star Power has a history, we're a startup company, and we need you guys to bring people to the table to spread the good news about what's available. So I'm just encouraging all of you. I see Rick Wright's on the phone. This guy's a legend in Columbus, a solo agent, just killing it and taking a massive amount of time off. These are the people who are going to be in the hallways, not just the stars. So spread the word and get as many people as you can to be at this very first conference. We also didn't mention we have 2 tributes happening, which I think are amazing. During the opening session, we'll be doing a tribute to Howard Brinton. For those of you who don't know him, he was the original founder. And then Dave Jenks on morning of the next day, we're going to do a tribute to him as a part of the general session. And a lot of you know him as a co-author of Millionaire Real Estate Agent and the guy who helped Gary Keller build Keller Williams. So these are just once in a lifetime opportunities. And I'm sorry, I'm a little bit wound up about it, but I'm so excited. We're doing assignments for stars right now for topics. And it's just really cool to see the blend of people that are coming to the table to share. So please spread the word, tell people to sign up, get 5 and yours is free. I'm done.
Don't hesitate. I think don't hesitate, Sherry. I think Star Power is also a networking based business, and don't hesitate. A quote from Alexis Boland that we had in her Star Revisit comes to mind, where we were talking about buyers who sometimes want to sleep on it. And she said, well, you can sleep on it, but then you won't be sleeping in it. And that's kind of the same thing with the Star Power Conference. If you forget to sign up, if you don't go, you're going to miss out on that fulfilling opportunity. Martha, did you have something you wanted to add?
I do.
Go, Alexis.
Martha's still on mute. Martha, you got off on mute. Alexis, go ahead.
Can I say that there is a 99% possibility that the NAR president, Leslie Rudis Smith, will be there?
Oh, it's more than 99%. She's committed. I just have to get her schedulers to put it on her calendar. She lives 5 minutes away from the hotel. She said I wouldn't miss it for the world. So she will be giving us a forecast on the trends in the future of real estate. That's going to be fantastic.
So to me, that is the most awesome endorsement we'll ever receive. And it's an opportunity for our members to actually get to meet in person the president of the National Association of Realtors. This doesn't happen very often.
Thank you, Alexis. Yeah, she's going to stick around for as much of the conference as she can. So she wants to learn too. You got to love a president who wants to be in learning mode.
Okay,
Well,
Martha,
Amy,
your microphone's on now. Go ahead.
This is Martha Hendrick, and Jana, I want to do a really big, huge hug and shout out to you and all of your team. Frankly, in the past 6-7 months, I don't know how you have met with energy, enthusiasm, creativity, implementation, what you have done. And I want to acknowledge that to everybody on this call. I want to reiterate what Amy said about the fulfillment pieces that you've already implemented. When I got Tammy Hickey, I've known Tammy here. Are you still there? Anyway, Tammy, I haven't met you yet, Dawn, but I will. I'll be in Dallas, and I'm honored to be a part of the relaunch. But the content that you have written is something that I really am adamant about getting a buy-in from the millennials and those of us who have not had the opportunity to learn from each other. And I'm putting on my thinking cap to see how we can engage them, not from the implementation part. You've done that. You've got your plan. You really do, Jana. You got your plan. And now it's getting the word out. And if we can get a niche of younger people, and I'm bringing to conference, I'm not bringing them, but they have signed up, or they will sign up, to get them engagement. And those of us who have been to Star Power, we know what it's about. Those who haven't don't have a clue. Do you agree with that? So that's our challenge. We can meet it. I'm up, whatever you need me to do. The newsletters are excellent. I read word by word, saw the pictures of Kathy Russell and all of those things that you put in that newsletter. Heidi Joy, I listened to you yesterday. What a joy, and I don't mean that as a pun, to listen to you. And Amy, you are a superb moderator, as is Aaron. And of course, all of you have the capability. Alexis, hello there, Alexis, my friend. I'll talk to you later. Yeah, if I'm going to be up at Challenge of the Script Off, we'll have to have a pre-test here, because we can get pretty rough, you know. I think she's left. I think Alexis has left. But anyway,
She's still there. She's still there.
I wanted to tell you
Don't
that
you talk bad about me, girl. I'm here.
I got your sweet note yesterday. You know I'm your friend, and I'm looking forward to it. Jana, I'm back to you now. Thank you. You are amazing. You have put yourself out there, not only energy-wise, but monetarily, and you are all in. I can see it, I can feel it, I can believe it. Thank you.
All right, well, I know we're past our time, so I do want to bring this to a close, and I just want to go back to our guests that we had today. And first of all, say a big thank you to Linda McKissick and Nikki Ubaldini. Again, if you want to get the newsletter, please put it in the comments. But Linda and Nikki, I'd like to give you the final word if we could.
Okay, I'll go first. I just want to say that what the conference did for us, and the ability to meet somebody like Linda and all of the stars, but for whatever reason, many of the stars have found their best friends, their tribe, as we want to call it, for life in this group. And that can continue on. Linda and I met in 1994, April of 1994. From that day forward, we have been best friends. Our husbands are best friends. We have traveled every single year as families. Our families, our children are best friends. And in fact, they think they're cousins at times. And we own businesses together. We are in business together in multiple opportunities. And so there's been a lot of fun, family and business, all because of the conferences. And I just want you to know that you don't know if you're not going to meet your next business partner, your next best friend, or whatever, because there's so much there for you to get out of it. So I want to thank you for this opportunity. We thank Howard deeply, immensely for that introduction. That probably never would have happened if it wasn't for Howard. And we literally say on a regular basis, thank you, Howard Brenton, for bringing us together, because they are our lifelong friends. And that's very, very important to us.
Yeah. And I would just say ditto to all that. And for all the young realtors that are not going to get the blessing of meeting Howard and having him in our life, you will feel the culture that Howard created for all of us to get together. And, sometimes leadership and success and entrepreneurship can be lonely. So it's a great opportunity for you to come together with other like-minded people and get ideas and share ideas and just feel like you can be among other people, like Jana said, who are crazy like you are, right? So I look forward to seeing all of you in July in my home territory of Dallas, Texas.
Yes. Thank you, guys. You're awesome. Appreciate you. Always loved you.
Everybody.
Thank you, Jan. I appreciate your
All
work.
right.
Yeah.
Bye.
Love you.
Thank you,
And just
everyone.
so
With
you
that,
know,
we'll bring it to a
just so
close.
you know, everyone, it's the team around me. It's not just me. I learned leverage through you guys.
You did put a great team. Amy, Dawn, Aaron, everybody.
I know.
Great job.
It's all them. So
right.
thank you. All right. Be blessed. Bye-bye.